Hi guys, apparently since none of you will watch and comment and do the things that I need to keep making the content and spending the money on ammo to watch my Daria DY9 comp video, even though I'm letting you know of the highest performance per dollar that I have found that there is made, that there is sold for under 350 shekels units of trade with a comp that's actually efficient and not the BS most companies are putting out, calling them comps with 3 tiny little holes in the barrel that just make it louder and bleed velocity and don't actually reduce muzzle flip to flat back down like the Daria DY9 comp is. So I'll make a video just to get some views, even though I can't monetize it on my phone, even in the studio, about magic bullets. About magic bullets, because I just tore someone a new arsehole on X who was like, oh, these G9 9mm rounds. I saw a super top secret SOCOM used them report. They're so much better than everything else, and they do more a larger wound. Tell me at pistol velocity is how something could possibly cause a larger wound than its diameter. Number one, or at least through the entire wound path. Clarify that. And larger than its diameter of an expanded duty hollow point. Need those screwdrivers. Watch my full video on why screwdrivers are bullshit and duty calibers. If it is your choice in a little micro 380 or a 32, knock yourself out. But you think that turns into a 45 HST, be quiet. There's not magic. There's very few slightly magical bullets, but really everything's a trade-off. Okay, everything is a trade-off. Do I want slightly better barrier penetration? Then I get less expansion. I get less total wound volume from this gold dot than I do my typical 124 plus PHST. However, I know that this, and in my own test and my modern meat target, might penetrate a little bit further. Might get me through just a tad bit more barrier if I had to shoot through windshield. HSTs are great compared to everything else on the market, windshield or car door, and even that's like really is very variable because HSTs actually perform really good in all the tests, but it's a trade-off. It's not going to get as big, meaning it doesn't have as much total wound volume. What about flat point, man? It's just awesome, man. This is pretty good, but boy, this is a lot better than typical FMJ. Well, why is that? Well, I don't know, because it's actually made to specs. It actually has a hard coating. It's not just a TMJ bullet. It's not just a coated bullet, and it has a flat med plate to go straight line performance much deeper. All right, magic bullets do not make up for your lack of skill. Neither does a friggin' red dot that you're fishing for forever, or your 3-second draw time. None of that crap, or an going up caliber, makes up for your complete lack of skill. I don't care how much you talk on the internet, it doesn't make up for your complete lack of skill. There's really not magic bullets. I'm going to tell you the few that are kind of, but everything is a trade-off. What about a 357 Magnum, 125 grain semi-jacketed hollow point for my 4-inch barrel, 1,450 feet per second, like a lightning bolt? Until you had to shoot through barrier car first. And then it's not so awesome. Okay? Everything is a trade-off in this fake reality we live in. So, but 9BPLE, that's pretty awesome. If 3.5 or longer inch barrels, if you want to put 9BPLE in your gun, or you want to put the first 5 rounds, 3 or 5 rounds in your pistol that come out to do 9BPLE, why? Because it might slightly have a higher percentage psychological stop from nerve sensation. If I've been shot, look at my 357 mag, 357 SIG video, why it worked. What's the trade-off? The trade-off is if it's a big fucking guy like me or bigger attacking you, and he's shooting you from a side lateral shot, and it has to go through his bicep, like Miami-Dade, which wasn't even the shoulder bone, wasn't even a bone, it wasn't even humerus, okay? It was just bicep. And that little fucking twig didn't have biceps like these, okay? Then it's not as good, but it's certainly not as good going through windshield vehicles. That's why the last department of any size, DeKalb County, left 9BPLE about 12 years ago. Now, they shot a lot of, put people in the dirt, but not good on vehicles. Okay, so everything's a trade-off. Last week I did a video on copper hollow points. The right ones. AI warned me about the 100 grain XRG because the Bone Tax video, I re-verified 199 versus 250 pounder at the different angles, 45 lead. God forbid, a one-handed shooting, right lead, and arm first. It's going to stop just short of the heart. Okay, so 115 plus P, like the Barnes, Tech XP, XPD, or Black Hills loaded. Better, but still not as good as 124 plus PHST. The better part is maybe expanding if it hits bone very early with not enough tissue to expand first. Everything's a trade-off. There's physics. Momentum matters. Okay. What could possibly be some magical bullets? I don't care if it's a 45 or a 357. Handguns are handguns. If I barely nick somebody or I hit them in a non-vital structure, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make up for your lack of skill. Especially these Magnum guys that cock every shot. Look at my don't get cocky video. Like, dude, what reality are you living in, man? Your own. Your fantasy that shooting 3 times a year is good enough. Or just carrying it. I never shot it. And it's just going to... Okay. Magical bullets. Probably one of the most magical bullets ever is a 45 HST. Daryl Bulkey said the 45 plus PHST is the only thing he's seen that was really like a lightning bolt and dudes just dropped. Assuming from longer barrels, because 45 has velocity issue. He also said the plus P version. But let's assume if it was in duty use, we're talking 4 1/4 to 5 inch barrels. We're not talking little 3.3 inch shields. Okay? Also, I know of one failure from a big guy, side barrel shot, hit that big muscular shoulder, and splat, flat on the bone. Didn't penetrate into the thoracic cavity. So your best stopper in almost all other scenarios, because it starts at a larger diameter and gets friggin' huge tarantula, well, tarantula is drag, and so there's gonna be some trade-offs occasionally. Okay, what are some real magical bullets that still do not make up for your lack of skill and don't turn your pistol into a 12-gauge shotgun with buckshot? 44 Magnum. No, almost all the junk on the market is going to zip through before it ever expands. Okay, your Dirty Harry fantasy boys, you shoulder holster carrying guys, you guys suck. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it, okay? 44 mag sucks on bipeds. You have to use very specific short neck, quick opening ammo that would do anything better than anything else. And almost all of it, like a 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow point, is probably going to start its expansion too late, even from Dirty Harry's roar. Okay? You got a Mexican-American skinny boy frontal shot. Well, that's even worse, because it's just zipping through before it does, just like over 30 caliber hunting rifles do. Oh my God, it's just depends on the angle, bro. Because if it's through a tiny Mexican-American and it goes right in from a frontal shot, it hasn't expanded or yawed or tumbled, and tumbling is what does damage in most rifles, unless you're talking high-end, expanding, made for duty use bullets. And even then, I think ones that yaw, like a 77 grain OTM, is probably going to do better. So until you get up to 308 with proper bullet selection, it still doesn't make a rifle a 12-gauge shotgun with buckshot at close range. What's the trade-off? Well, my buckshot isn't very good at 180 yards. Okay? So it's a trade-off. Okay, what's some magical bullets? The only time you can start to play with a little magic, honestly, in my opinion, is 40 Smith & Wesson, and even more so 10mm. But Dan, you don't have a 10mm. I'm working on that. Do I have some magical ammo first? Maybe I do. But until you get up to heavier caliber, and then there's downfalls of recoil and everything else, you can't even do anything almost magical. And what do I mean by that? Stop with the screwdriver bullshit. That's bullshit. Any damage is from tumbling If you're lucky, you get 180 tumble. Yes, the flutes are sharper. What do you say? Maybe plus 1% of more cutting if it yaws, and then it's 180, and now it's a full wad cutter. If you're very lucky at a proper depth where it's not too deep by the time it does that. So maybe 32 or 380. Maybe lucky. Don't know when it's actually going to do that versus not do it. If it's too late before there's an actual like flip, ideally a 180 flip and not this fishtailing yawing, which looks good in clear ballistics bullshit because it's synthetic candle wax and has nothing to do with anything. Would be because it tumbles more. It has nothing to do with radial fluid energy going out. Radial fluid energy, if it works, is at 10,000 feet per second. It's not at 200 to 500 foot-pounds of energy in a pistol. Because elasticity is 2,200 to 2,600 feet per second to overcome elastic tissue until you get up to 4570, okay, or a 12-gauge slug, to overcome the elasticity threshold, depending on where it hits which organs, which tissue. So none of that crap matters. What may matter? My civil defense, man, my 9mm civil defense. Oh, it's going so fast. Is it going that fast 3 inches into the body? No. Then it's not doing rifle stuff. If it's not doing rifle stuff, once it's into the thoracic cavity, it's not doing rifle stuff. You know why? Because it lost all its damn momentum because it started at 50 grains. You friggin' idiots. Physics. Having said that, 9mm federal syntech defense. I tested in the modern meat target. I said, did okay-ish on the 3.3-inch barrel. Did pretty damn good from a 5-inch barrel. Think it would be pretty awesome in a 8.9-inch MP 5 bottom kind of thing. That would probably be pretty awesome. But it has to be from a longer barrel, and one of my subscribers has shot hogs multiple times. Sometimes segments does great, and sometimes ice picks through. And you know what? Ice picking through sucks. 9mm FMJ sucks. And actually, that's a little more frontal area than a rounded, tiny little tip of an FMJ, while the fluid dynamics, hydrodynamics go around it than FMJ. And says it sucks. If you want to in a 4-inch or longer, or even 3.5 or longer, maybe. But, you know, we're not guaranteeing that it has enough to segment. And AI agrees with me because of the little tiny hole and the amount of pressure. It needs enough pressure in that little tiny hole to cause enough shear force to break and fracture the 3 large segments. Okay? However, segmenting ammo in 40 and 10mm, can the right one work? Most of the time, really good? Probably. And I've always said that. Why? Because it has enough, the chunks are bigger, so those chunks have more momentum, and it's going at such a velocity that it has enough momentum upon hitting that those will go deep enough to probably, maybe actually have hit entropy like a shotgun, not as effective as a shotgun, but hit entropy to possibly, oh, I missed a little bit here, but maybe one of the segments that starfished out got to the heart, maybe deep enough, maybe, depending on the angle, or at least to pop lungs. AI agrees with me. 40 and more so 10mm, like the, not the syntech, but the centerfire, if the QC's there, the centerfire, probably that's the one thing that, if it wasn't an armed first shot, if it wasn't too huge a dude, bigger than me, if it wasn't, you know, that might actually do more than a typical handgun. Why? Because the core is a flat-ish metplate meteorite almost. It's like 90% of a wad cutter full McPherson bullet profile value. So it's like a 40 caliber full wad cutter almost. Going deep line straight. Plus big segments that starfish out and have higher entropy. Especially in 10mm, I think it would look great. What about if it's car door first? Well, it actually doesn't segment then, and it still goes through probably as good as anything else that's weight. That would need more testing, but it does go through a car door. So there's not as much a downfall if you get up to 40, 10mm, and for the one YouTuber that actually still shoots 41 Magnum. Okay, that's the only place to play with a little bit. You got enough energy to make projectiles be a little bit magical. What are other magical rounds? Really, really, really hot gold dot. A really, really hot gold dot. Because if I shove a gold dot at 1350 to 1370 feet per second, maybe occasionally I get a little more if I've been shot reaction than a typical. Why? Because velocity, muzzle, energy, EKE, I explain all in my 357 mag video. Like maybe why 357 SIG was a little more magical in some instances. Okay? At cost and recoil and all that, but departments were pretty happy with 357 SIG gold dots, though I do know of 2 actual over penetrations to the bad guy, one horribly so, with a horrible, most horrendous outcome you could ever imagine. It caused little girl's death. So everything's a trade-off. I still like 40 and 10 millimeter. It gives you a little bit of energy to do things. What's the trade-off? For concealed carry, they're pretty damn heavy because of the weight of the ammo. Sometimes specialty ammo, copper expanding hollow points, not screwdrivers, or segmenting ammo might be able to solve that. What about recoil? Maybe in a Glock 29 or 20, less recoil from the 125 grain cinder fire, or at least in your first 3 to 5 rounds. And then what's other magical bullet? Would probably be discontinued really hot gold dots, okay, by a certain company that used to make bonded rounds. Okay? Why? Because if I can do everything like a 125 Magnum, sort of to a less effect, a 115 plus B plus 9 BPLE, but I do it with a higher grain weight and I'm still getting my 1300 feet per second, and I'm holding the core to good enough that it's not fragmenting and it's just becoming a meteorite, and it's getting very deep, very good barrier penetration, probably that higher EKE and fibs effect, possibly sometimes, not all the time, kind of everything. And he can do that maybe at 40 and 10 mil, and could 41 mag. I don't see anything out there in 44 mag that could, but you're playing the recoil game. Okay, so those are the only magical bullets with a handgun. A normal handgun. Okay, maybe FK Bruno with a longer version, like compact, I'd like to think, but then you're lowering the velocity. Maybe 7.5. Fucking Bruno, man. Little bit magical. And a 40-ounce pistol, so now my carry weight. Empty pistol, so now the carry weight. Now, if you're bushing, maybe with a compact and whatever, but those are discontinued, and good luck finding ammo. Could that be a little bit more magical? Or at least more magical at longer distance, retained energy, and proper bullets to expand at 100 yards hog hunting? And I could see maybe a Secret Service application in there, maybe. But then itty bitty MP7 with a red dot maybe reaches 100 yards just as good. I don't know. If you're laying enough of them down, and standard SOP, because 5.7 sucks so bad, go ahead. Gonna hurt your feelings. 5.7, even from a long barrel P90, it wasn't magical. SOP was so bad that overseas and SWAT teams, half mag to the face became the SOP, because ballistically it sucks so bad from a full-length P90 barrel, let alone your stupid little pistols. Trade-off. The old guy at the range that showed me a super black Fane, I shot one around because I didn't want to shoot his expensive ammo. You rock on, Grandpa. You're carrying that big-ass pistol, was the TSUS 5.7. Man, good for you. It's got a loud bark like 22 Magnum, so maybe it scares away bad guys. Everything's a trade-off. So there's a little spiel about magical bullets, and if you're in search of super duper magical bullets, other than a very well thought out one that can be explained that, hey, they're all defensive ammo, it's what I had, or if pressed, your lawyer goes, he was really worried about over penetration for his first 5 rounds, or less penetration, which would even be less likely to unalive the organic material if it didn't reach deep enough. Or worried about penetration because you work in a movie theater or bank in environments that I have before. So maybe you justified 9 BPLE your first few rounds. A little less worried about retained momentum down range through materials, that kind of thing. And maybe even the XRG on a comp pistol makes sense in certain environments for that same reason. But there, any angle at all, it was, or having to go through an arm burst, yeah, I was saying not enough momentum. Even though the Czech police uses it,